What if the silence that now permeates your home isn't just an absence of sound, but a deafening, palpable echo of every word left unspoken, every conversation cut short, and every feeling that remained hidden in the unguarded chambers of your heart? The loss of a spouse is a cataclysmic event that far transcends mere bereavement. It is a fundamental rewriting of your entire reality, an earthquake that doesn't just shake the foundations of your world but permanently alters its tectonic plates, leaving you standing alone in a landscape that is at once familiar and utterly foreign. Every room tells a story, every object holds a memory, and the empty space on the other side of the bed is a daily, crushing reminder of a future that was supposed to be shared. In the devastating, lonely aftermath of this loss, time behaves strangely. The present feels hollow, the future seems unimaginable, and so the mind, in its search for solace or sense, makes an inevitable, often painful, turn towards the past. It begins a relentless and exhaustive inventory of a lifetime spent together, sifting through decades of memories with the precision of an archaeologist, searching for clues, for meaning, for forgiveness. And it is in this quiet, vulnerable space that the regrets begin to take root and flourish. For so many seniors navigating this difficult journey across America, from the sun-drenched retirements in Florida to the quiet, tree-lined streets of Portland, these regrets are a universal, yet deeply isolating, burden. They rarely arrive as loud, dramatic proclamations. Instead, they manifest as quiet, insidious whispers in the pre-dawn hours when the world is still and defenses are down, the most vulnerable time for a grieving heart. They are the haunting phrases of a painful internal dialogue. I wish I had put my phone down and listened more intently when he told me about his day. Why didn't we just book that trip to Alaska we always dreamed about instead of saying, next year? If only I had one more minute to say, thank you for everything, I'm sorry for that argument, or simply, I love you, without the distractions of daily life. This retrospective anguish is rarely about the major, catastrophic failures we often fear. It is almost always about the small, mundane, seemingly insignificant moments that were overlooked in the hustle of life. It's about the conversations postponed for a later, that arrogantly assumed it was guaranteed, the minor daily irritations that were allowed to cloud a perfect afternoon, and the simple, loving affections that became routine gestures instead of treasured, conscious connections. We become so expertly adept at managing the practicalities of life, the doctor's appointments, the finances, the home repairs, that we inadvertently relegate our most precious asset, our emotional connection to our life partner, to the background. We operate on the dangerous and flawed assumption that there will always be more time. This video, and the hard-earned wisdom within it, is not designed to make you dwell in that pain or to stir up feelings of guilt. That is the absolute last thing anyone in grief needs. Instead, its purpose is to harness the raw, painful, and profoundly valuable wisdom that comes from those who have walked this path before you. It is a message sent back from the shores of grief to those who are still fortunate enough to be sailing the open waters of partnership. It is a gentle, yet urgent, nudge to truly see the extraordinary gift of the present moment with clear, unclouded eyes. It is also a guiding hand, extended with compassion, for those in the fresh, raw stages of loss, showing them that while the searing pain of loss is an inevitable price of love, the soul-crushing torment of deep, pervasive regret is not. By pulling back the curtain on these 5 most common, heart-wrenching regrets, the specific things that most seniors report wishing they could go back and change, we are offered a precious and actionable roadmap. We are given the rare chance to consciously choose a different path now, today, while we still have the precious gift of time. It's about transforming the painful echoes of what if into a purposeful, deliberate blueprint for living the rest of our days, whether alone or together, with more intention, more grace, more gratitude, and infinitely more peace. The stories you are about to hear are not just tales of sorrow, they are beacons of clarity, helping us all to see what truly matters before it's too late. To truly, viscerally understand the crushing weight of this first and perhaps most profound regret, we need to do more than just hear about it. We need to step into the worn slippers of someone living intimately with its consequences. Let's sit for a moment in a well-kept but quiet home in a suburb of Chicago, Illinois, and meet Robert, a 72-year-old retired mail carrier who served his route for over 40 years with dependable consistency. For nearly 5 decades, his life was a beautifully synchronized duet, harmonized perfectly with the presence of his wife, Eleanor, a warm-hearted librarian with a laugh that could light up the grayest Chicago day. Theirs was, by all standard measures, a good life, a testament to post-war American values, a house paid for, children successfully raised, a peaceful retirement filled with crosswords and birdwatching from their back porch. Then, 2 years ago, without a single note of warning, the music stopped abruptly. Eleanor was taken by an aggressive and swift-moving cancer, a diagnosis that arrived too late for anything but goodbyes whispered in a sterile hospital room. There was no time to finally take that trip to Italy she'd always dreamed of, no time for the long, meandering conversations they'd always promised themselves someday. Now, Robert spends his days in the beautiful, thriving garden they designed and planted together over the years. But the vibrant begonias Eleanor loved and the carefully trimmed boxwood hedges no longer bring him the uncomplicated joy they once did. Instead, the garden has become a living, breathing monument to his greatest, most haunting regret, a regret so simple in its nature yet so profound in its emotional impact that it now colors every single memory with a faint hue of sorrow. He wishes, with an ache that feels physical, that he had truly listened to her. Not just with his ears, but with his entire being. It's crucial to understand that Robert was not a neglectful or unkind husband. He was a good man. He provided, he was faithful, he was physically present for Sunday dinners and holiday parties. But he now realizes with a clarity that cuts deep that being there in body is not the same as being present in spirit. His regret is one of distracted proximity. He remembers with aching specificity the times Eleanor would try to share the inner world of her day with him. She'd come home excited about a first edition book that had crossed her desk, her eyes sparkling as she described its fragile pages, dreaming aloud about the lives it had touched. Robert would be half watching a baseball game on TV, grunt in acknowledgement, and say, "That's nice, dear," his attention captured by a player's statistic. She would share a small, personal worry about a friend's failing health, seeking not a solution but comfort and a shared moment of vulnerability, and he would quickly offer a practical, deflecting fix, just tell her to get a second opinion, instead of simply putting his arm around her and sitting with her in that worry. She'd begin to reminisce about their hilariously disastrous first date, a story he claimed to know by heart, and he would half listen, interjecting to correct a minor detail she got wrong instead of diving into the memory with her, reliving the joyful, nervous embarrassment as if it were the first time. He heard the sound of her words, but he rarely, truly heard the meaning behind them. He was preoccupied with what he thought were the important, adult things, the silent pressures of life, thinking about pension calculations, the gutters that needed cleaning, the nagging pain in his own knee, believing that solving these puzzles was his primary role. He failed to understand that the most important thing, the very heart of it all, was happening right in front of him, in the soft light of their living room, in the simple, sacred act of sharing a day's small moments. This is not merely a sentimental observation, it is a psychological and physiological imperative backed by robust scientific data. Research published in the esteemed Journal of Applied Gerontology has consistently demonstrated that emotional validation, the active process of listening, reflecting, and authentically acknowledging a partner's inner emotional experience, is not a mere nice-to-have element of a relationship. It is the very cornerstone of deep, lasting marital satisfaction, intimacy, and what researchers call relational resilience. It's the behavioral glue that holds couples together through decades of external stresses and internal changes. It actively signals, your inner world is safe with me. I see you. I am with you. What you feel matters to me. For Robert, the silence that now surrounds him is no longer just empty space, it is acoustically filled with the deafening echoes of all the conversations he only half heard, all the dreams he only half acknowledged, all the feelings he failed to validate. This regret points directly to a habit we must all consciously and urgently adopt, the radical practice of profound, undistracted presence. It means making the conscious choice to put down the remote, to turn away from the screen, to silence the phone, and to truly, fully turn toward your partner. It means listening to understand their emotional reality, not just to formulate your next reply. It means asking, how did that situation make you feel, and then having the discipline to sit quietly and absorb the answer without judgment. This intentional practice is the ultimate antidote to taking each other for granted. It is, Quite simply, the active process of collecting the treasures of today that will become your most cherished, unregretted memories tomorrow, long after the opportunity to do so is gone. It is the habit that protects you from joining Robert in that quiet garden of remorse. Robert's story in Chicago is not an isolated tragedy. It is a heartbreakingly common refrain that echoes in the lives of countless seniors navigating loss from Seattle to Sarasota. This first regret, the failure to be truly, deeply present, is arguably the most pervasive and painful because it strikes at the very heart of the human condition, our fundamental need to be seen, heard, and profoundly understood by the one person who matters most. We often fall into a dangerous trap of believing that presence is a passive state, that sharing a home, a name, and a life for decades automatically means we are sharing our minds and hearts. But true, connective presence is not passive, it is an active, demanding, and intensely intentional practice. It is a habit we must consciously cultivate and fiercely protect, especially after years of companionship, when the comfortable routines of life can lull us into a false sense of security, tricking us into believing we already know everything there is to know about the person sleeping next to us. The great danger lies in the assumption of familiarity. We stop being curious. We finish their sentences not out of intimate knowing, but often out of a subconscious desire to expedite the conversation and return to our own mental silos. We listen to a story we've heard a dozen times and mentally check out, completely missing the subtle new emotion that tinges their voice this time or the slight, revealing detail that makes this particular telling unique. This autopilot mode, this conversational slumber, is the silent killer of intimacy. It makes your partner feel lonely even when you're in the same room. Active listening, the powerful antidote to this regret, is not merely about auditory processing, it is a full-body, empathetic engagement. It's a habit of noticing the slight tremor in their hand when they talk about something that frightens them, the way their eyes truly light up when they mention a forgotten joy from their youth, or the hesitant pause in their voice when they're holding something back because they're unsure if you're really there. It's about listening for the emotion beneath the words. The common question, "How was your day?" must be transformed from a polite formality into a genuine, open-ended invitation to unload, celebrate, or vent. The automatic response, "I'm fine," should be met with a gentle, knowing, "Are you really?" Because I have all the time in the world to listen, if your intuition tells you there's more to the story. The scientific data supporting this goes far beyond soft science and delves into hard, measurable physiology. A landmark study from the University of California, Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center found that a consistent lack of emotional validation and attentive communication directly correlates with elevated, damaging levels of stress hormones like cortisol in both partners. This chronic stress state contributes to inflammation, high blood pressure, and a weakened immune system. Conversely, couples who practice active, empathetic listening show markedly stronger immune function, lower baseline blood pressure, and significantly reduced anxiety. This happens because feeling genuinely heard and understood activates neural pathways in the brain associated with safety, reward, and bonding. It literally builds a biological buffer against the strains of life. For seniors and older adults, this isn't just about relationship satisfaction, it's a critical component of health and longevity. It's about creating a shared emotional ecosystem that actively promotes well-being for both individuals. These things, the daily, mindful, 5-minute conversations, are not small things, they are the essential, non-negotiable maintenance required for the human spirit. They are the consistent deposits you make into the emotional bank account that you will be forced to draw from after a loss. An account filled with rich, detailed memories of being deeply understood provides a wellspring of comfort. An empty one, filled with the echoes of missed connections and distracted half-presence, only amplifies and deepens the grief. This is why this first point is so critically important. It is the foundational bedrock upon which all other meaningful connection is built. So, let me ask you directly, is this resonating with you so far? Are you listening to this and thinking about your own recent conversations, measuring your own presence? If this message is hitting home, if you're having a moment of clarity about the profound importance of this simple yet powerful habit, then I need you to take a small but significant action right now. This is more than just a video, it's an intervention. Please, go down to the comments section immediately and type number 2. This does two vital things. First, it is a personal commitment to yourself, a contract you make to be a better, more present listener starting today. Second, it sends a powerful signal to the YouTube algorithm that this content has genuine value, which helps the Golden Age Wisdom channel reach other seniors, older adults, and couples who are standing at that same crossroads, who desperately need to hear this message before it's too late. Your simple comment can literally change the course of someone else's relationship. Don't underestimate your power. Please, like this video to support this mission, subscribe to the channel for more wisdom, and let's build a community that consciously chooses connection over regret. Now, let's journey from the Midwest to the arid, sun-baked landscapes of Phoenix, Arizona, and meet Linda, a 68-year-old former elementary school teacher who dedicated her life to nurturing young minds. Linda lost her husband, Mark, a jovial retired engineer, 3 years ago to a sudden and massive heart attack that struck him while he was tending to his beloved cactus garden. Their retirement was supposed to be a vibrant, active chapter, a reward for decades of hard work. They had maps pinned to their wall, brochures for RV parks, and a detailed plan to visit all their children scattered across the country. Linda's deepest, most persistent regret is not one of conflict or unkindness, but of postponement. It is the ghost of someday that now haunts her. For years, they had talked, almost ritualistically, about creating a comprehensive family history book. They possessed all the raw materials of a rich legacy, boxes of fading photographs from the 70s, love letters from their years of long-distance dating, his grandfather's immigration papers from Sicily, and her mother's handwritten recipes. They would occasionally pull them out on a rainy afternoon, marvel at the memories, and then carefully pack them away again, always concluding with, "We'll get to this next winter when we have more time," or, "This is a project for when we're really old and can't travel anymore." They treated time as an infinite resource, a given, a river that would always flow. After Mark's sudden passing, the task transformed from a joyful future project into a monumentally overwhelming and emotionally paralyzing burden. The very things that were supposed to be a source of shared joy became sources of sharp pain. The stories that only Mark knew the full context of, the name of the fishing hole where that picture was taken, the reason his army buddies were making those silly faces, were lost forever. The half-written captions and partially sorted piles now sit in a corner of her spare room, a silent accusation of time wasted. Linda's experience is a devastatingly common story that finds its echo in the findings of narrative psychology. Research in this field, published in journals like Memory Studies, shows that the act of co-constructing a narrative, the process of actively telling, retelling, and physically preserving your shared story together, is far more than a hobby. It is a fundamental human process that reinforces relational bonds, creates a coherent sense of meaning across generations, and provides a tangible anchor for identity. It is the difference between a life lived and a life remembered. For couples, this collaborative storytelling is a powerful ritual of connection, a way of continually saying, "Our story matters. What we built together is important." This regret is so poignant because it is entirely avoidable. It doesn't require grand gestures or vast amounts of free time. It is about the small, consistent habits of preservation. It's the habit of taking 10 minutes on a Sunday afternoon to write down one single story in a shared journal. It's the habit of using a smartphone to record a short video of your spouse telling their favorite joke from their childhood. It's the habit of involving grandchildren in the process, making them the keepers of the stories, thus ensuring the legacy continues. Linda's advice to anyone who will listen is now simple, urgent, and born of profound loss: don't wait. Don't assume you have tomorrow. Do it now, even if it's just one story, one photo, one sentence at a time. That box of memories will not be a burden, it will become the most precious, comforting treasure you own. It will be the voice of your loved one when you need to hear it most. Her story is a powerful warning against the complacency of someday and a compelling argument for the purposeful action of today. It teaches us that the most important things we will ever do are often the things we consistently put off for a future that is never guaranteed. Linda's story from Phoenix illuminates a regret that is both subtle and monumental: the tragedy of postponed legacy. This second profound regret, the delay in actively preserving your shared history, stems from a fundamental miscalculation we all make. We treat our collective memory, the very narrative of our life together, as if it is immortal, etched in stone, and immune to the ravages of time. We believe our memories are flawless archives when, in reality, they are fragile, living things that fade, distort, and eventually disappear without a tangible anchor. The habit you must cultivate to counter this is not one of grand, sweeping action, but of active, consistent legacy building. This is not about writing a Pulitzer-winning memoir or producing a professionally edited documentary. That kind of pressure is what leads to postponement in the first place. It is about redefining the task into small, manageable, even joyful, rituals of connection. It is the habit of dedicating 20 minutes on a rainy Sunday afternoon to sorting through a single box of photos from the 1980s, not with the goal of finishing, but with the goal of rediscovering one story and writing it down. It is the habit of keeping a shared journal on the nightstand where you both jot down a single memory from that week, a funny thing a grandchild said, a beautiful sunset you saw, a small victory. It is the habit of using the technology in your pocket to record a 30-second video of your spouse laughing as they try to recall the name of their first car or their college roommate. These things, these small, consistent acts, may seem simple and insignificant in the busyness of daily life. But their cumulative value is immeasurable. They are the practical application of love and respect for your shared journey. After a loss, these artifacts undergo a powerful transformation. They cease to be simple objects and become sacred, tangible conduits to the past. A handwritten note in a journal becomes your partner's voice. A short video clip becomes a vessel for their laughter, their mannerisms, their essence. This is not just sentimentalism, it is a critical tool for navigating grief. Psychologists specializing in bereavement, as cited in publications like The Gerontologist, have found that engaging with such tangible reminders, a process called continuing bonds, is a healthy and adaptive way to process loss. It helps the bereaved person integrate the loss into their life story without having to completely sever the connection, thus mitigating the risks of complicated grief and profound isolation. This proactive habit is a powerful shield against the loneliness that can follow loss. It actively fights the silence with the echoes of a life fully shared. This work is a profound act of love for your future self and for your entire family. It is the ultimate gift you can give each other. It says, "What we have built is so important that I am taking the time to make sure it is never forgotten." So, let me ask you, how are we doing? Is this message landing? Are you seeing the profound power in these small, consistent habits? If you are recognizing the critical importance of this practice and are feeling motivated to ensure your story doesn't include this particular regret, I need you to take a moment right now. This is where intention meets action. Please, go down to the comments section and type number 4. This simple act serves two powerful purposes. First, it is a personal pledge, a promise to yourself and your loved one to start this vital work. Second, it is a powerful signal to the YouTube algorithm that this content is truly valuable, which empowers the Golden Age Wisdom channel to reach other seniors, older adults, and couples in places like Phoenix, Chicago, and all across the country who are on the brink of the same realization, who need this wake-up call before it's too late. Your engagement has a ripple effect. Please, don't just watch, participate. Like this video to amplify its message, subscribe to the channel for more essential guidance, and share it with someone you love. Let's build a community that chooses legacy over regret, together. While the regrets of inattention and postponement are profound, the landscape of remorse that follows loss is complex and populated by other, equally devastating oversights. The third profound regret, heard in support groups from the brick row house neighborhoods of Baltimore, Maryland, to the sprawling retirement communities of Dallas, Texas, is the corrosive act of letting grudges and minor irritations fester. For many older couples, decades together can create a tapestry woven not just with love, but with the threads of small resentments, the way he never put his socks in the hamper, the way she always interrupted his stories, that one argument about money from 20 years ago that was never fully resolved. So many seniors look back with a clear, painful hindsight and wish they had apologized sooner, forgiven more easily, or simply chosen peace over the desperate need to be right. They realize, too late, that holding on to anger and resentment was like building a wall between them, brick by tiny brick, until they could no longer see the partner they loved on the other side. They prioritized winning a momentary battle over preserving the peace of their shared kingdom. The habit to adopt here is one of radical, proactive forgiveness and the conscious release of minor annoyances. It is the daily practice of asking, will this matter in a year? Will it matter when one of us is gone? This is not about suppressing feelings, but about choosing your battles with the finite nature of time in mind. The fourth regret, often confessed with a sense of shame by widows in Miami, Florida, and seniors in Seattle, Washington, is the slow-motion betrayal of neglecting their own health and friendships. This often unfolds with the best of intentions. One spouse, often the wife, becomes the default caregiver, so hyper-focused on managing their partner's diabetes, heart health, or mobility issues that they avoid their own doctor's appointments. They cancel lunch dates with friends to be available at home. They stop going to their book club or gardening group, allowing their entire social circle to wither and die from neglect. They subsume their identity into the role of caregiver, believing this is the ultimate act of love. After the loss, they are left in a devastating double bind. Not only are they completely alone, but they are also often in poor health themselves, facing unaddressed medical issues, and they have no independent support system to lean on. The grief is then compounded by isolation and preventable illness. This is a habit you must actively avoid. It is not selfish to prioritize your own health and maintain your friendships, it is an act of strategic preservation. It is acknowledging that to care for another effectively, your own cup must not be empty. A strong, personal support network and good personal health are the very things that will give you the resilience to survive the loss itself. Finally, the fifth regret, highlighted by financial planners and estate attorneys working with seniors in Denver, Colorado, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, is the practical failure of not preparing practically for the inevitable. This is the regret of avoidance. It encompasses all the difficult but crucial conversations couples put off because they are uncomfortable. Conversations about wills, advanced medical directives, power of attorney, and the location of important financial documents. It's the "we really should get to that never happens." Avoiding these talks, these essential, adult things, does not prevent death, it only ensures chaos, confusion, and additional, entirely preventable conflict for the surviving spouse during a time of unimaginable grief. The surviving partner is left not only to mourn but also to decipher a financial puzzle, often while dealing with contentious family dynamics. The habit you must adopt is one of courageous practicality. It is scheduling a planning meeting with your spouse, perhaps with a financial advisor present, to ensure everything is clear, organized, and understood by both parties. It is one of the most concrete and powerful acts of love you can perform, a final gift of clarity and peace that says, "I have taken care of this for you so you can focus on healing." These habits, forgiveness, self-preservation, and practical preparation, are the unsexy but absolutely critical pillars of a partnership that leaves no room for this particular category of soul-crushing regret. So, what is the ultimate, undeniable takeaway from these heartfelt stories gathered from every corner of this nation? It is this: the profound pain of loss itself is an inevitable price of love, a universal human experience that none of us can avoid. However, the deep, soul-corrosive torment of regret, that specific, gnawing anguish of "I should have, I could have, and why didn't I," is not inevitable. It is a preventable burden. The common thread running through all these powerful stories, from Robert in Chicago with his silent garden of remorse, to Linda in Phoenix surrounded by boxes of unfinished memories, to the countless unnamed seniors in Baltimore, Miami, and Denver grieving missed opportunities for forgiveness and preparation, is that the regrets are almost never about the grand, catastrophic failures we often fear. They are about the small, daily, seemingly insignificant things that we allow to slip through our fingers day after day, believing there will always be a tomorrow to reclaim them. The conversation not had because the news was on, the dream postponed for a more convenient season, the apology withheld to protect our pride, the doctor's appointment canceled out of misplaced duty, the difficult conversation about finances delayed because it was easier to watch TV. The most powerful and liberating thing you can do at this very moment is to recognize a fundamental truth: your life together, your entire relationship, is constructed from the accumulation of these seemingly mundane moments. The future you will inevitably face after your spouse is gone is being built by the choices you make today. Right now. This minute. Therefore, the habits you must change, the habits you must adopt, are often not massive, overwhelming overhauls. They are small, conscious, deliberate shifts in perspective and priority. The decision to put down the phone and listen with your whole heart, the commitment to spend one afternoon a month preserving your photos and stories, the courage to let a minor irritation go in favor of peace, the strength to prioritize your own health and friendships as an act of love, and the maturity to sit down and have those difficult practical conversations that secure your partner's peace of mind. After your spouse is gone, you will never, ever regret making these choices. You will only regret the opportunities you let slip by, the moments you allowed to be stolen by distraction, procrastination, and fear. The goal is not to live a life without sadness. That is impossible. The goal is to face that sadness with a heart that is full of love and gratitude, softened by the natural grief of loss, yes, but not shattered, not crippled, by the preventable poison of regret. You hold that power. You have the ability to start shaping those memories, that legacy, and that future today. You can choose a different path. Now, we turn this over to you, our Golden Age Wisdom community. This is not the end of a video, it is the beginning of your conscious journey. We want to hear your voice. Which of these 5 regrets speaks to you the most on a personal level? What is the one small, specific habit you will commit to changing this very week? Share your pledge, your story, or your own hard-earned wisdom in the comments below. Your words have power. They might be the exact inspiration another person needs to make a change that saves their future self from a world of hurt. If this video has brought you value, clarity, or a moment of profound reflection, please honor its message. Like this video to help others find it. Subscribe to the Golden Age Wisdom channel and turn on notifications, because we are dedicated to providing you with more content that empowers you to live with intention, purpose, and peace. And most importantly, share this video with someone you love, your spouse, a family member, a dear friend. Send it to them with a note that says, "This made me think of us." Let's talk. Let's build a community that supports one another in choosing connection, legacy, and love over distraction, procrastination, and regret. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for committing to making every moment count. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope it was useful, and see you in the next one.